Joran's boots sank into the thick, spongy moss as he stumbled through the alien jungle. Every sound was amplified, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, even the distant drip of water from unseen heights. His breath came in ragged gasps and his heart hammered in his chest. The transport ship was gone, destroyed in the ambush he had barely survived. Alone, surrounded by creatures he had only seen in classified reports, fear gnawed at his stomach. Shadows twisted and shifted in ways that made him second-guess every step. A low growl echoed nearby, vibrating through the ground. Joran froze, pressing his back against a gnarled tree trunk. His hands shook, fingers brushing the cold metal of his survival knife. He peered into the darkness, catching a glint of eyes, too many eyes. They weren't human. They weren't small. They moved with a predator's precision. Panic clawed at him, and for the first time he considered giving up, letting the jungle claim him. A whimper stopped him. Soft, small, and frightened, it came from a shadowed hollow beneath a fallen tree. Joran's stomach twisted. He knelt carefully, scanning the darkness. There, shivering and bleeding from a jagged gash on its shoulder, was a small predator pup. Its black fur glimmered in the strange green light that filtered through the dense canopy, and its wide eyes looked at him with something almost human: fear, confusion, and trust. Joran's voice cracked as he whispered, "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you." The pup flinched but didn't run. Something inside Joran softened. He couldn't explain why, not logically. Predators were killers, trained to hunt, to devour. Yet here was a tiny life, trembling and alone, abandoned just like him. He tore a strip from his shirt to wrap its wound, his hands gentle despite his adrenaline. The pup whimpered again, leaning into his touch. A bond sparked, fragile but real, and Joran felt the first flicker of hope in hours. Suddenly, a massive roar split the air, and the ground shivered under his feet. Joran's head snapped up, eyes wide. From the shadows emerged a colossal predator, moving with terrifying grace. Its limbs were long and muscular, claws glinting like blades. Joran froze, dragging the pup close to his chest. The creature sniffed the air, nostrils flaring, and a deep, vibrating growl rolled through its throat. Joran whispered, more to himself than to the pup, "Stay calm, stay calm." The predator circled, eyes locked on him. Time stretched unbearably. Every instinct screamed to run, to scream, to fight. But as he looked at the pup nestled in his arms, he realized that protecting it was more important than his own fear. Slowly, carefully, he backed away, keeping his movements small, deliberate, non-threatening. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, he couldn't tell. The jungle seemed to close in around them, shadows pressing closer with every step. Joran named the pup Kira, a simple name that felt like a lifeline. They moved through dense undergrowth, ducking under hanging vines, sliding past pools of dark, reflective water. Every sound made him flinch, snaps, hisses, whispers of movement he couldn't see. Kira mirrored his movements, stepping lightly, eyes alert. A sudden shriek tore through the forest, sharp and metallic. Joran's stomach dropped. Something was hunting them, something bigger, smarter than anything he had imagined. He grabbed a branch and swung it in the air, trying to scare it away, but the sound only echoed back at him, mocking. Kira's fur bristled, she nuzzled his chest, a small gesture that sent a lump to his throat. Joran knelt, pressing his forehead to hers. "We'll survive," he said, voice trembling. "I swear we'll survive." The night fell fast, turning the jungle into a maze of shifting shapes and unseen threats. He found a hollowed-out tree trunk and pushed Kira inside, surrounding her with his arms. He whispered stories he barely remembered, about Earth, about the academy, about home, anything to keep their minds from succumbing to fear. Outside, the sounds of predators hunting filled the night, but inside their small shelter, a fragile safety grew. As sleep claimed him briefly, Joran felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. He was alone, truly alone in predator territory, with no backup, no reinforcements, no guarantee of survival. Yet the tiny creature at his side had given him a reason to fight. The thought of losing Kira, of letting her fall into the claws of this merciless jungle, burned in his chest. The first rays of alien light cut through the canopy, revealing the wet, twisted beauty of the jungle. Joran sat up, eyes scanning the horizon. He knew this was only the beginning. Predators were out there, waiting, testing him. Every step forward would bring new dangers, and every choice could be their last. Yet he felt something powerful, a bond, unspoken, unbreakable, forged in fear and fire. He lifted Kira carefully, whispering, "We'll face them all, together." And as the jungle awoke, alive with unseen eyes, Joran stepped into the unknown, heart pounding, courage flickering but alive, determined to survive, and to protect the only friend he had left. Joran moved silently through the dense undergrowth, Kira pressed close against his chest. The jungle was alive with sound, branches snapping under invisible feet, low growls that rolled like distant thunder, the rustle of massive wings overhead. Every shadow seemed to move on its own, and every movement made his pulse race. He had learned that the moment he relaxed, death could strike. A sudden hiss froze him mid-step. Joran's eyes darted to a tree branch, where a small, scaled creature peered down with glinting eyes. It hissed again, then vanished before he could react. His fingers tightened around his knife. "We have to keep moving," he whispered to Kira. The pup whimpered but stayed quiet, trusting him. That trust weighed heavily on him, heavier than his own fear. Hours passed. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, and his muscles ached from constant alertness. The jungle seemed endless, a twisting maze of shadows and claws. Every step could be the wrong one, every breath could draw predators closer. Joran's mind raced, calculating escape routes, planning distractions. He couldn't afford mistakes, not with Kira depending on him. Then the roar came. Louder than anything he had ever heard, shaking the ground, vibrating through his bones. Joran pressed Kira to his chest, ducking behind a moss-covered boulder. From the shadows emerged a massive predator, its skin glistening wet, teeth like jagged knives. Its eyes locked onto them, and it took deliberate, silent steps forward. Joran's heart pounded so loudly he was sure the creature could hear it. "Stay calm, just stay calm," he muttered, his voice barely audible. He tried to make himself appear smaller, non-threatening, hoping the creature would ignore them. The predator stopped a few meters away, sniffing, head tilting as if studying them. Its low growl rolled through the clearing, and Joran felt fear press against his chest like a weight. Suddenly, Kira let out a small growl, low and warning. The predator stiffened, ears flicking toward her. It roared, a sound that split the air, and then it charged. Joran dove to the side, dragging Kira with him. Rocks and debris flew as the predator slammed into the boulder where they had hidden. He scrambled to his feet, clutching Kira tightly. "We have to run," he shouted, adrenaline burning through him. They sprinted through the jungle, twisting around giant roots and leaping over fallen logs. Every instinct screamed to keep moving, to stay ahead, but the predator was fast, relentless. Joran glanced back to see its eyes fixed on them, calculating, waiting for a single mistake. Kira's small claws dug into his chest as they ran together, a silent bond pushing them forward. They ducked into a narrow canyon, the walls closing in on either side. Joran could hear the predator crashing after them, snapping branches and hissing with rage. He led Kira through a series of twists and turns, trying to shake their pursuer. The canyon opened into a small clearing, where water shimmered under a pale alien sun. Joran's chest heaved. "We're not safe yet, but maybe just for a moment," he gasped, placing Kira down. She sniffed the air, eyes wide, alert even in the brief calm. As he caught his breath, Joran realized the pup was learning, watching him, mimicking his movements. Kira darted between roots, crouched low, testing her own speed and agility. A sense of awe washed over him. This small creature, once helpless, was adapting quickly, and it depended on him to survive. The bond between them deepened, no words needed, just shared fear and trust. Then the sound of movement from above made him freeze. He looked up to see a shadow gliding from tree to tree, a second predator, even larger than the first, moving silently like a ghost. It had been following them, waiting for the right moment. Joran felt a cold sweat slide down his back. "Kira, stay close. Don't let go." The pup pressed against him, ears flat, body trembling, but unafraid in the way only trust can create. The predator leapt from the canopy, landing with a crash that shook the ground. Joran barely had time to roll aside, scraping his arm on jagged rock. Kira yipped and lunged, teeth flashing, claws extended, striking the predator in a surprising flurry of speed and instinct. Joran scrambled to support her, slashing at the predator with his knife. The creature recoiled, more surprised than injured. For a moment, time froze. Predator, human, pup, three shapes locked in a violent, tense dance. Joran's mind raced, trying to anticipate its movements, trying to protect Kira without getting himself killed. The predator roared and retreated into the shadows, leaving them trembling but alive. Joran sank to the ground, holding Kira close, his body shaking with fear, relief, and exhilaration. I think we made it," he whispered. Kira nuzzled his chest, licking his sweat-streaked face. The bond they shared had been tested, and it had held. Yet Joran knew the jungle was far from done with them. Each predator they encountered would be smarter, faster, deadlier. Every step forward was another test, and the stakes were life and death. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in deep, shifting shadows, Joran held Kira tightly. He didn't know how long they could survive, didn't know if rescue would come. But he knew one thing: he would fight, every breath, every heartbeat, to keep this creature alive. Together they would face the horrors ahead, bound by trust, courage, and a bond stronger than fear itself. And in the growing darkness, with eyes watching from unseen heights, Joran realized that the hunt had only just begun. Joran crouched behind a massive root, listening to the jungle breathe around him. Kira pressed close, her small body trembling but alert. The night was alive with whispers and distant roars, shadows moving where he couldn't see. 4 days they had survived, evading predators, finding water, and avoiding traps invisible to the untrained eye. Every heartbeat was a warning, every rustle a threat. And yet, he had begun to feel a fragile hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could make it. He paused as a faint glimmer of light broke through the trees ahead. Joran's heart skipped. Could it be other humans? Rescue? He crept closer, holding Kira gently. The clearing opened to reveal a small encampment, fires burning low, humans moving cautiously, scanning the jungle. Relief washed over him. Finally, help, he whispered. Kira nuzzled his chest, sensing his excitement. As he stepped into the clearing, the humans froze. Their eyes widened, not with recognition but with calculation. A man in armor stepped forward, his expression hard. "You've got something," he said, voice flat, pointing at Kira. Joran's stomach tightened. "She's not just something," he said firmly, placing a protective hand over the pup. "She's alive, she's my friend." The man's eyes narrowed. "That friend is worth more than you think. Orders say capture it. Alive or dead. You don't get a choice." Panic and disbelief hit Joran at the same time. Humans, his own kind, were willing to betray the bond he had fought for, risk the life of the only creature who had trusted him. "No!" Joran shouted, stepping forward. "You don't understand. She's not a weapon. She's everything to me. Don't touch her." A soldier lunged, aiming a net toward Kira. In an instant, Joran reacted, blocking the throw with his arm, feeling the sting as the net brushed past him. Kira yipped, claws flashing, leaping toward the man with surprising speed. The soldiers froze, unprepared for such ferocity from a small pup. "Step back!" Joran yelled, pulling Kira toward the shadows. The humans hesitated, calculating, then advanced with weapons raised. His heart pounded. He had never felt fear like this, not from predators, not from the jungle, but from his own people. They were betrayers disguised as allies. Branches snapped beneath their feet as Joran and Kira fled deeper into the jungle. Shots rang out, cutting through the night, and the air filled with the sharp smell of ozone from energy weapons. Kira ran beside him, teeth bared, claws scraping bark as they twisted through dense roots and hanging vines. Joran's muscles burned, adrenaline fueling every step. He ducked into a hollow, trying to catch his breath, listening to the sounds of pursuit fade. Kira huddled against his chest, breathing fast, eyes wide. Joran pressed his forehead to hers, whispering, "We can't trust anyone, only each other." The realization hit him like a weight. He was alone in a jungle full of predators, with humans ready to turn on him for a prize. As they moved forward, the jungle seemed to sense their desperation, shadows stretching longer, moving closer. A low growl rumbled behind them. A massive predator, drawn by the commotion, emerged from the darkness. Joran froze, heart hammering, then saw Kira step forward, standing between him and the beast. Her small body bristled, fur raised, eyes sharp and unafraid. Joran's chest tightened with pride and terror at the same time. The predator tested them, circling, sniffing, muscles coiled. Kira growled, matching the rhythm of the alien hunter, and Joran realized she had learned more in days than he could have imagined. Together, they stood as a unit, silent communication passing between them without words. The predator lunged and they darted to the side, weaving through vines and roots, barely avoiding death. The chase was relentless, each step a test of skill, courage, and trust. Eventually they reached a river, fast and deep, water tumbling over jagged rocks. Joran grabbed Kira, wading through the current, letting the rushing water mask their scent. Behind them, the predator hesitated, snarling, but eventually retreated into the shadows. Joran collapsed on the opposite bank, gasping, clutching Kira to his chest. "We survived again," he whispered, though the taste of betrayal lingered bitter in his mouth. As night deepened, Joran realized that the jungle was no longer the only enemy. Human greed and fear could be just as deadly, just as merciless. Kira leaned against him, silent and calm in a way that made him ache with both relief and sorrow. He whispered, "No matter what happens, I won't let anyone take you from me." He looked toward the horizon, where distant fires of the human encampment flickered through the dense trees. Rescue might be close, but at what cost? Could he survive the jungle, protect Kira, and avoid the humans who had already shown they could betray him? The answer was uncertain, but the bond between boy and beast had become a force stronger than fear. Joran tightened his grip, feeling Kira's heartbeat against his own. Shadows stretched and twisted around them, the night alive with danger and whispers of betrayal. Every step forward would be another test, every breath a gamble, but he would face it all with her by his side. And somewhere deep inside, a stubborn spark of hope burned, hope that even in a jungle of hunters and traders they could survive together. Joran clung to the edge of the cliff, his fingers scraping against wet rock as Kira crouched beside him, tense and alert. The jungle below stretched into a dark abyss, a maze of twisting roots, jagged rocks, and shadows that seemed alive. The night had turned colder, and the air smelled of damp earth and distant fires. Every sound echoed like a warning, the snap of a branch, the distant roar of unseen predators, the whisper of wind through the alien trees. He swallowed hard, trying to calm his racing heart. "We can't stop now, we have to keep moving," he whispered, though his voice trembled. Kira's small body pressed against his chest, her warmth a tiny comfort against the terror pressing from every side. He had thought the jungle couldn't surprise him anymore, that after predators and betrayal, he had faced the worst. But the forest seemed to shift beneath his feet, testing him in ways he hadn't imagined. A flash of movement across the abyss caught his eye. Shadows twisted unnaturally, shapes moving faster than the eye could follow. Joran froze. Kira growled, a low, warning rumble. From the darkness, a pack of predators emerged, larger than anything he had seen before, their eyes glowing like molten fire. They circled silently, hunting with perfect coordination, waiting for a single mistake. Joran's stomach knotted in fear. "We can't fight them all, not like this," he muttered, pressing Kira closer. Her claws dug into his chest, steadying him in a way that almost felt like courage was flowing from her into him. He had no weapons, only his knife and wits, and he knew they would need more than skill to survive this night. The predators lunged with terrifying precision. Joran dodged, rolling across jagged roots, Kira leaping beside him, teeth flashing. They moved as one, instinct and trust guiding them. He could hear his own ragged breaths, the pounding of his heart, the wild cries of the predators. Each step was life or death. A massive shadow landed in front of them, cutting off the path. Joran froze, seeing a predator larger than any he had encountered, with serrated claws and jaws that could crush bone in a single bite. Its roar shook the ground. Kira snarled, standing between him and the beast, refusing to retreat. Joran's heart broke with pride and fear. "Stay behind me," he ordered, though he knew she would not. The predator attacked, and Joran ducked just in time, feeling the force of the blow sweep past him. Kira darted to the side, claws raking, teeth snapping. Together they created a rhythm of survival, moving in tandem, barely staying ahead of the nightmare pursuing them. Joran realized that Kira had learned more than he had taught her. She anticipated, reacted, and protected as instinct and trust intertwined. A sudden roar echoed from the cliff above. Rocks shifted, and a cascade of debris tumbled toward them. Joran grabbed Kira, leaping over a jagged edge as boulders crashed where they had been seconds before. The predator pack skidded to avoid the fall, confusion flashing in their glowing eyes. "Run!" he shouted, and they bolted into a narrow canyon barely wide enough to squeeze through. The canyon walls closed in, shadows pressing against them, but the predators followed relentlessly. Joran's muscles burned, lungs screaming for air, but he didn't falter. Kira pressed against him, her tiny body a comforting weight. He whispered, "We've made it this far, we can't stop now." Suddenly the canyon opened to reveal a vast, steaming swamp. Acidic mist rose from the water, stinging their eyes, and the ground was slick and treacherous. Joran took Kira in his arms, waiting carefully. Every step risked slipping into the black water, which churned as if alive. The predators hesitated at the edge, snarling, testing the air. Kira's low growl reassured him. She was ready to face whatever came next. From the mist, a massive shadow moved, larger than any predator they had encountered. Its glowing eyes scanned the swamp, and it emitted a low, vibrating roar. Joran tightened his grip on Kira, knowing this creature could kill them both in an instant. But something strange happened. The predators around it faltered as if the swamp itself obeyed this beast. Joran realized that the jungle had levels of danger he had never imagined, hierarchies of predators and lethal intelligence beyond human understanding. He whispered, almost to himself, "We're not just fighting for survival, we're learning how to survive here." Kira yipped in agreement, pressing against him, her body a reminder that they were stronger together than apart. Hours seemed to stretch as they navigated the swamp, avoiding acidic pools, leaping over roots slick with slime, hiding from glowing-eyed hunters. Each near miss carved deeper lines of fear into Joran's face, but also strengthened his determination. They had survived ambushes, betrayal, and relentless predators. They could survive this too. Finally, they reached a small rise overlooking the swamp. Joran sank to the ground, clutching Kira, exhausted, covered in mud and sweat. He looked at her, eyes wide and trusting, and whispered, "We'll face whatever comes, together." The mist rolled past them, carrying the cries and roars of predators far below. In that moment, Joran understood that the jungle had become a teacher and an executioner. Every threat tested courage, trust, and instinct. Every step forward required sacrifice and resolve. And through it all, Kira had become not just a companion, but a mirror of his own courage. As the sun began to rise, painting the swamp in alien colors, Joran held her tightly, knowing the abyss of fear was far from over. Ahead lay more predators, more unknowns, more trials, but their bond had grown unbreakable. For now they survived, but the jungle was watching, waiting, and ready to strike again. Joran crouched on the ridge, the alien jungle stretching endlessly beneath him. Kira pressed close against his chest, her small body shivering from exhaustion, but her eyes were alert, scanning every shadow. For days they had survived storms, predators, and human betrayal. Every scar, every scrape on their bodies told the story of fights fought and lives saved. Joran's chest heaved with fatigue, but his mind raced. Rescue was near, he knew it. The distant hum of ships pierced the dawn, growing louder with every passing minute. He looked down at Kira, brushing a muddy paw from her face. "Almost there, just a little further," he whispered, though a knot of dread twisted in his stomach. The pup tilted her head, letting out a small yip as if she understood him perfectly. Their bond had grown stronger than fear, deeper than words, forged in fire and shadows. But Joran knew that hope often came with a cost. Suddenly, a patrol drone emerged from the morning mist, scanning the forest floor. Joran's stomach sank. It wasn't the alien predators he feared now, it was the humans. The military had tracked him relentlessly, and Kira, being alien, could not leave the jungle without attracting attention. The realization hit him like a blow. Reaching rescue meant leaving her behind. His heart tightened, chest aching with a grief he couldn't speak aloud. "Stay close, Kira," he whispered, voice trembling. She nuzzled his chest, sensing his tension, her small body a lifeline he couldn't bear to lose. He led her through a narrow gorge, twisting between jagged rocks, keeping them hidden from sensors. Each step was painstaking, their movements measured, silent, as if the jungle itself held its breath in anticipation. The hum of the ship grew louder. Joran could see the landing platform ahead, lights blinking, signaling safety. But every instinct screamed that safety came with a cruel choice. He knelt, holding Kira against his chest. I can't take you with me," he said, tears burning in his eyes. "They won't let you, it's not your world. You belong here." Kira whimpered softly, her head tilting up to look at him, eyes wide and trusting. Joran pressed his forehead to hers. "I'll come back. I promise. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'll find you." Her small body trembled against him, and he could feel the weight of her trust, fragile yet unshakable. He wanted to stay, wanted to defy the humans, the jungle, the impossible odds. But there was no choice. The drone's hum grew nearer, scanning the rocks, and Joran knew hesitation would be fatal. With a final, trembling embrace, he set Kira down. She nuzzled his chest one last time, claws brushing against his hands, before stepping back into the shadowed trees. Her eyes never left him. He whispered, voice breaking, "Be strong, survive. I'll see you again." Before he could take another step, a predator pack emerged from the trees, drawn by the commotion. Kira growled, standing tall, fur bristling, facing them without fear. Joran's breath caught. He watched as she moved among them, her instincts guiding her, her trust in him unbroken even as separation became inevitable. The predators circled, their low growls reverberating, but Kira met each challenge with courage that made his chest ache with pride. The first ship descended, its engines humming like a promise. Joran ran toward it, glancing back at Kira one final time. She was framed by the rising sun, eyes bright, defiant, alive. He wanted to scream, to run back, to defy fate itself, but the humans were already reaching for him. He was pulled aboard, heart hammering, tears streaking his face, chest burning with grief. From the open hatch he looked down. Kira stood tall, small but unyielding, her body silhouetted against the jungle. The predators behind her seemed to acknowledge her, giving her a place in a world that was not meant for humans. Joran raised his hand and she tilted her head, nuzzling the air as if to say goodbye. His throat tightened, unable to speak, and he swallowed hard, fighting the sobs threatening to escape. The ship lifted, engines roaring, carrying him toward safety. He pressed his forehead to the glass, eyes locked on Kira. Every second stretched, every heartbeat screamed, and then the jungle swallowed her silhouette, leaving only the memory of her courage and the bond they had forged. Joran sank to the floor of the ship, clutching his chest as if holding onto the pieces of a shattered heart. In the silence, broken only by the hum of engines, he whispered, "Stay alive, my friend. I'll find you." He knew the world outside the jungle could never understand what they had shared, what they had survived together. Yet the memory of her trust, bravery, and presence would remain, a flame burning bright in the darkness of his soul. As the ship disappeared into the horizon, the jungle resumed its rhythm, alive with predators and shadows. Among the trees, Kira watched, ears twitching, eyes sharp, a silent guardian in a world that would test her as fiercely as it had tested him. Their paths were separated, but the bond between them endured, a promise carved in fear, courage, and love, unbroken even by distance, danger, and fate itself. And in the quiet aftermath, both human and pup carried the ache of loss and the spark of hope, knowing that survival was not the end, it was a beginning, and one day somehow they might meet again.